Hello everyone, I am Demented Kirby, and welcome to my channel, the Commander Tavern. The Commander Tavern is a channel dedicated to my favorite Magic the Gathering format. The Stage is a series on this channel where games are played in the Commander Tavern for your entertainment. On this episode of The Stage, we have a 3DH match between a Golos Tireless Pilgrim Super Friends deck piloted by Saul, a Ruhan of the Fomori voltron deck piloted by Stephan, and a Zada Hedron Grinder shenanigans piloted by yours truly. Saul keeps an opening hand of Dueling Grounds, Dimir Signet, Heart of Kiran, Karn's Bastion, Ajani Unyielding, Sacred Foundry, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Stephan keeps an opening hand of a Mountain, Mystic Monastery, Soul Ring, Tenza Golos Maul, Fists of Flame, and Enlightened Tutor. And I keep an opening hand of 4 Mountains, Treasonous Ogre, Goblin Matron, and Young Pyromancer. Saul wins the die roll, so he starts us off. Saul draws a card, plays a tapped Breeding Pool, and passes to Stephan. Stephan draws a card and plays a Mystic Monastery. I draw a card, drop a mountain, and pass. Saul untaps, draws a card, plays Karn's Bastion, and taps everything to cast Dimir Signet. Then passes. Stephan taps a mountain to cast a Soul Ring, then taps out to cast Darksteel Ingot. Upon seeing this, the table realizes that next turn it's going to be a Ruhan. If that weren't enough, he taps the Ingot to cast Enlightened Tutor. The table then proceeds to go crazy as Stephan's second turn in the whole game. He passes to me while he tutors up something spicy. So I untap, drop a mountain, and then tap out to cast Helm of Awakening. Maybe having Ruhan cost 1 less, as well as the equipment Stephan's no doubt tutoring up, will please the Lords of Chaos in order to not be chosen as Ruhan's random victim. After completing my tribute, I pass. Saul draws and plays an untapped Sacred Foundry, paying 2 life. Thanks to Helm of Awakening, Golos costs 1 less, so Saul taps out to cast it. While Saul is searching for a land, Stephan reveals the Swiftfoot boots he finally found from Enlightened Tutor. Saul then puts his command tower into play tapped from Golos' search ability and passes turn. Thanks to Helm of Awakening, Stephan's able to cast Ruhan turn 3, as well as casting Swiftfoot boots and equipping them to Ruhan. I then provide him with the die for which to cast our fate. Saul's evens and odds, and the die is cast. 6. It would seem my tribute to the Lords of Chaos has paid off, and Saul is Ruhan's first victim of the match. He chooses not to block and takes 7 commander damage from Ruhan. He then passes to me. I drop a mountain and then cast Treasonous Ogre for 1 less, then pass the turn. Saul untaps, draws, plays a mountain and pays 3 to cast Oracle of Moldaya, revealing Arachne's Signet on the top of his library. He then enters combat and attacks Stephan with Golos. Stephan does nothing in response, taking 3 commander damage. In his second main phase, Saul taps 2 to cast Dueling Grounds, then passes. Stephan untaps, draws, and pays 2 to cast Tenza Golos Maul. He then pays to equip it to Ruhan, who's now a 10-10 with Trample. He then pays 2 to cast Sword of Body and Mind. Voltron at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Stephan then enters combat and I once more provide the die to cast our fate. Same as before, odds and Saul's evens. And another 6 is rolled. Ruhan then swings Saul's way, who takes it like a champ, accumulating 17 commander damage from Ruhan so far. After an explosive 4th turn, Stephan passes. I untap, draw, drop a mountain, and pay 2 to cast Goblin Matron, tutoring for Goblin Recruiter, which either way happened to be the next card, but what can you do? I then pay 1 to cast it and start looking through my library for goblins. I look for Mog War Marshal, Goblin Goliath, Siege Gang Commander, Beetleback Chief, Skirk Prospector, Goblin Instigator, and Krunko Mob Boss. I then place them all on top of my library in a strategic order. I tap for a red and pay 6 life to cast Goblin Ringleader and, no surprise to anyone, reveal 4 goblins from the top of my library. I thus put Mog War Marshal, Goblin Instigator, Skirk Prospector, and Krenko Mob Boss in my hand. I pay 9 life to cast Krenko. Fearing Saul has a board wipe in his hand, I cast Krenko anyways because I'm playing mono red and have to assert dominance. I then pass turn. Saul untaps, draws, reveals a non-land card from the top of his library, once again curses the Lords of Chaos, and taps 1 to cast Rakdos Signet. He then taps out to cast Tesseret Master of the Bridge and Heart of Kiran. He upticks Tesseret so me and Stephan receive 4 damage while Saul gains 4 life. Then passes. Stephan untaps, draws a card, plays an island, taps 2 to equip Ruhan with Sword of Body and Mind. With Saul super nervous, Stephan gets his own dice to give Saul a fighting chance. Unfortunately, it lands evens once more. So Saul is chosen as Ruhan's victim. Accepting his fate, regardless of how good his blocker's math is, he blocks with Golos merely as a formality. Thus, he receives enough commander damage from Ruhan to be defeated. Stephan gets a 2/2 green wolf creature token prize afterwards. He ends his turn and I thank him for getting rid of the dueling grounds. I untap, draw a card, contemplate the 2-turn clock and play on Stephan's side. I pay 3 and cast Zada from the command zone. I pay 1 and cast Young Pyromancer. I then pay 6 life to cast Karizev's Expertise targeting Zada, which copies it for every creature I control. I then tap Krenko in response to Zada's trigger on the stack. I then create 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. I accidentally put 7 on the field since I was incorrectly counting Young Pyromancer and Treasonous Ogre, but it should have been 5. In response to the tokens, Stephan casts Path to Exile on Zada before things get any worse. The Young Pyromancer triggers finally resolves, getting me a 1/1 red elemental creature token. The Karizev's Expertise copy on Young Pyromancer resolves, and I cast Skirk Prospector from my hand for free. The Karizev's Expertise copy on Goblin Matron resolves, and I cast Mog War Marshal from my hand for free, creating a 6th 1/1 Goblin token. The Karizev's Expertise copy on Treasonous Ogre resolves, and I cast Goblin Instigator for free, creating a 7th 1/1 Goblin token. Unfortunately, those 2 can't attack this turn. Then the Karizev's Expertise copy on Krenko resolves, untapping him. The Karizev's Expertise on the original 5 1/1 Goblin tokens resolves, giving them all haste. I rearrange my board to make it clear what can and can't attack that turn. Again, 2 tokens should have been left behind, untapped. I play Arid Mesa from my hand. I then enter combat, choosing 5 Goblin tokens, Goblin Matron, Goblin Recruiter, and Goblin Ringleader. Stephan blocks the Ringleader with his Wolf token, and in response casts Fists of Flame to draw a card. Damage is dealt, Ringleader and the Wolf token die, and Stephan takes 7 combat damage from my attack. I end my turn. Stephan untaps and draws a card. He plays an Inventor's Fair, cracks it to search for a Sword of Fire and Ice. He then pays to cast it. He then enters combat because Ruhan obligates him to. In response, I tap Krenko to create 13 1/1 Goblin Creatures tokens. 2 untapped goblin tokens, 5 tapped goblin tokens, Instigator, War Marshal, Prospector, Matron, Recruiter, and Krenko, giving me those 13 tokens, which I used to block Ruhan. I should now have only 2 untapped goblin tokens left. The 4 you see is because I'm counting the 2 I accidentally created earlier. He then ends his turn and I crack Arid Mesa in response, fetching for a basic mountain. I untap, organize my board, and draw a card. I immediately enter combat and attack with all 7 tokens and the rest of my creatures except for Krenko. He can't block the Alpha Strike and drops to 9 life. Realizing he'd have no way to recover during his next turn, Stephan concedes. Such a short game lasting only 6 turns is to be expected when there's 2 aggro decks at a 3DH game. The all-star card of the match was undoubtedly Helm of Awakening, which apparently appeased the Lords of Chaos enough for Ruhan to never come my way. Unfortunately for Saul though, who only had a 12.5% chance of getting attacked 3 times in a row by Ruhan, did not have the odds in his favor. He even cast a Dueling Grounds in order for me to be unable to block Ruhan with more than a single creature. However, that was not enough appeasement to the Lords of Chaos and it ended up being his downfall in the end. The pressure from Ruhan was too much for Saul to be able to get his board in order to try and at least survive the onslaught. Although my own deck underperformed, I was lucky enough to get the win after Saul being taken out. That Dueling Grounds was a thorn in my side and Stephan had no reason to get rid of it. But eliminating a player does eliminate their entire board. Suffice it to say that I was incredibly lucky during this game. Although I did make the blunder of creating 2 additional goblin tokens with Krenko the first time and then attacking Stephan with 2 additional tokens that didn't have haste in that turn, we eventually rectified that error later on upon re-examination. We will try to do our best to catch on to these kinds of mistakes for future videos. I'd like to thank all of the visitors to the Commander Tavern for all of the support I have received during my first month with this channel. I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel for quite some time now and I never expected it to get this traction. I'm grateful for all of the attention and the interaction I've been lucky to have with all of you viewers and commenters and subscribers. I especially want to thank Saul and Stephan for their participation in filming today's episode. I have much more in store for all of you and lots of surprises too, so stay tuned. Again, thanks for watching this episode of The Stage on the Commander Tavern. I am Demented Kirby and happy playing.